Keep only with the banyan deer. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery about the mother of the elder monk named Prince Kashyap. The daughter, we learn, of a wealthy merchant of Rajgraya city was deeply rooted in goodness and contempted all worldly things. She had reached her final existence, and within her breast, like a lamp in a pitcher, glowed her sure hope of winning arhatship, enlightenment equal to Buddha. As soon as she reached knowledge of herself, she took no joy in a worldly life but yearned to renounce the world. With this aim, she said to her mother and father, "My dear parents, my heart takes no joy in a worldly life. Gladly would I embrace the exceptional teaching of the Buddha. Allow me to take the vows." "What, my dear? Ours is a very wealthy family, and you are our only daughter. You cannot take the vows." Having failed to win her parents' consent, though she asked them again and again, she thought to herself, "Be it so then, when I am married into another family, I will gain my husband's consent and take the vows." And when, being grown up, she entered another family, she proved a devoted wife and lived a life of goodness and virtue in her new home. Now it came to pass that she conceived, though she knew it not. There was a festival proclaimed in that city, and everybody kept holiday, the city being decorated like a city of the gods. But she, even at the height of the festival, neither anointed herself nor put on any finery, going about in her everyday attire. So her husband said to her, "My dear wife, everybody is holiday making, but you do not put on your bravery." "My lord and master," she replied, "the body is filled with 32 ugly things. For which reason should it be decorated? This bodily frame is not of angelic or archangelic mold, it is not made of gold, jewels, or yellow sandalwood, it takes not its birth from the womb of lotus flowers, white or red or blue, it is not filled with any immortal balsam. No, it is bred of corruption, and born of mortal parents. The qualities that mark it are the wearing and wasting away, the decay and destruction of the merely transient. It is fated to swell a graveyard, and is devoted to lusts. It is the source of sorrow, and the occasion of mourning. It is the dwelling of all diseases, and the repository of the workings of karma. Foul within, it is always excreting. Yes, as all the world can see, its end is death, passing to the charnel house, there to be the living place of worms. What should I achieve, my bridegroom, by tricking out this body? Would not its adornment be like decorating the outside of a clothes store?" "My dear wife," replied the young merchant, "if you regard this body as so sinful, why don't you become a sister nun? If I am accepted, my husband, I will take the vows this very day." "Very good," said he, "I will get you admitted to the order." And after he had shown lavish generosity and hospitality to the order, he escorted her with a large following to the nunnery and had her admitted as a sister nun, but of the following of Devadatta. Great was her joy at the fulfillment of her desire to become a sister nun. As her time came near, the sisters nuns, noticing the change in her person, the swelling in her hands and feet and her increased size, said, "Lady, you seem about to become a mother, what does it mean?" "I cannot tell, ladies, I only know I have led a virtuous life." So the sisters nuns brought her before Devadatta, saying, "Lord, this young gentlewoman, who was admitted a sister nun with the reluctant consent of her husband, has now proved to be with child, but whether this dates from before her admission to the order or not, we cannot say. What are we to do now? Not being a Buddha, and not having any charity, love or pity," Devadatta thought thus, "it will be a damaging report to get abroad that one of my nuns is with child, and that I accept the offense. My course is clear, I must expel this woman from the order." Without any inquiry, starting forward as if to thrust aside a massive stone, he said, "Away, and expel this woman." Receiving this answer, they arose and with respectful salutation went to their own nunnery. But the girl said to those sisters nuns, "Ladies, Devadatta the elder monk is not the Buddha. My vows were taken not under Devadatta, but under the Buddha, the foremost of the world. Rob me not of the learning I won so hardly, but take me before the master at Jetavana monastery." So they set out with her for Jetavana monastery, and journeying over the 45 leagues 4.23 kilometers, there from Rajgraya city, came in due course to their destination, where with respectful salutation to the master, they laid the matter before him. Thought the master, though the child was conceived while she was still of the lay people, yet it will give the wrong believers an occasion to say that the ascetic Gautam Buddha has taken a sister nun expelled by Devadatta. Therefore, to cut short such talk, this case must be heard in the presence of the king and his court. So on the next day he sent for Pasenadi Prasenajit king of Kosala, the elder monk and the younger Anathapindika, the lady Visakha the great lay disciple, and other well-known personages, and in the evening when the four classes of the faithful were all assembled, brothers monks, sisters nuns, and lay disciples, both male and female, he said to the elder monk Apali, "Go, and clear up this matter of the young sister nun in the presence of the four classes of my disciples." "It shall be done, reverend sir," said the elder monk, and on to the assembly he went, and there, seating himself in his place, he called up Visakha the lay disciple in sight of the king, and placed the conduct of the inquiry in her hands, saying, "First ascertain the precise day of the precise month on which this girl joined the order, Visakha, and from there compute whether she conceived before or since that date." Accordingly the lady had a curtain put up as a screen, behind which she retired with the girl. The lady found, on comparing the days and months, that the conception had taken place before the girl had become a sister nun. This she reported to the elder monk, who proclaimed the sister nun innocent before all the assembly. And she, now that her innocence was established, respectfully saluted the order and the mater, and with the sisters nuns returned to her own nunnery. When her time was come, a son strong in spirit was born to her, for whom she had prayed at the feet of the Buddha Padumata ages ago. One day, when the king was passing by the nunnery, he heard the cry of an infant and asked his courtiers what it meant. They, knowing the facts, told His Majesty that the cry came from the child to which the young sister nun had given birth. "Sirs," said the king, "the care of children is an obstruction on sisters nuns in their religious hermit life. Let us take charge of him." So the infant was handed over by the king's command to the ladies of his family, and brought up as a prince. When the day came for him to be named, he was called Kashyap, but was known as Prince Kashyap because he was brought up like a prince. At the age of 7 he was admitted a novice under the master, and a full brother monk when he was old enough. As time went on, he grew famous among the preachers of the truth. So the master gave him precedence, saying, "Brethren monks, the first in eloquence among my disciples is Prince Kashyap." Afterwards, by virtue of the Vamaka Sutta, he won arhatship enlightenment equal to Buddha. So too his mother, the sister nun, grew to clear vision and won the supreme fruit. Prince Kashyap the elder monk shone in the faith of the Buddha even as the full moon in the mid-heaven. Now one day in the afternoon, when the Tathagata Buddha on return from his alms round had addressed the brethren, he passed into his perfumed chamber. At the close of his address the brethren spent the daytime either in their night quarters or in their day quarters till it was evening, when they assembled in the hall of truth and spoke as follows: "Brethren, Devadatta, because he was not a Buddha and because he had no charity, love or pity, was near being the ruin of the elder monk Prince Kashyap and his reverend mother. But the all-enlightened Buddha, being the Lord of truth and being perfect in charity, love and pity, has proved their nirvana, salvation." And as they sat there telling the praises of the Buddha, he entered the hall with all the grace of a Buddha, and asked, as he took his seat, what they were talking of as they sat together. "Of your own virtues, sir," said they, and told him all. "This is not the first time, brethren," said he, "that the Tathagata Buddha has proved the nirvana, salvation, and refuge of these two. He was the same to them in the past also." Then, on the brethren asking him to explain this to them, he revealed what rebirth had hidden from them. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born a deer. At his birth he was golden of color, his eyes were like round jewels, the sheen of his horns was as of silver, his mouth was red as a bunch of scarlet cloth, his 4 hoofs were as though lacquered, his tail was like the yak's, and he was as big as a young animal. Attended by 500 deer, he lived in the forest under the name of King Banyan Deer. And hard by him lived another deer also with an attendant herd of 500 deer, who was named Branch Deer, and was as golden of color as the Bodhisattva. In those days the king of Benares was passionately fond of hunting, and always had meat at every meal. Every day he mustered the whole of his subjects, townsfolk and countryfolk alike, to the detriment of their business, and went hunting. Thought his people, "This king of ours stops all our work. Suppose we were to sow food and supply water for the deer in his own garden, and, having driven in a number of deer, to bar them in and deliver them over to the king." So they sowed in the garden grass for the deer to eat and supplied water for them to drink, and opened the gate wide. Then they called out the townsfolk and set out into the forest armed with sticks and all manner of weapons to find the deer. They surrounded about a league 4.23 kilometers of forest in order to catch the deer within their circle, and in so doing surrounded the haunt of the banyan and branch deer.